Now, for more on that, we're joined by Jason Unruhe, commentator and analyst from Ontario, joining us live. Thank you very much, Mr. Unruhe, once again joining us on Press TV. Now, what do you make of this recent announcement? Are you surprised?
I'm absolutely not surprised at this by all. This is something that has been a rather open secret for decades, if not centuries, within the Catholic Church that this kind of abuse was going on. And for centuries, the Church has been able to carry out these acts with absolute impunity. Nothing could be done to them whatsoever. And quite often, they would use people's faith as a weapon against them. They said that if you go public, this will hurt the church. Do you really want to hurt the church? You'll make people lose their faith. And a lot of other similar, very underhanded, very unethical emotional manipulations against people who not only knew about it, but people who were victims. So the fact that this is a phenomenon that's all over the world in every country, in basically every region of the world where the Catholic Church has a significant presence. This is one of the longest stemming systemic abuse of children that has gone unchecked in the entire world. And no one else has anywhere close to a record like this of abusing children and having, frankly, gotten away with it. And it's really great to see that now finally these people who have been preying on children for so long are finally being dragged out of the shadows and no longer being allowed to hide by being switched to another diocese, dragged out into the light and have these crimes exposed for the whole world to see, and hopefully to be prosecuted in some unfortunate cases like in the recent case in Australia, where despite the fact that the Archbishop had been covering up many abuses, he managed to walk free without any punishment whatsoever. Well, no jail time anyway for these crimes that he frankly colluded with to commit against children. This report is not something that's surprising in any way. It's often surprising that this much information would be released through an investigation, but these crimes are not surprising anyway, because this is something that's been done for a long time.
Mr. Unruhe, you point out something quite interesting. Can we expect actually some kind of prosecution and these people being held accountable and eventually being punished for these crimes? Or do you think that the Vatican might step in and somehow these people will remain without being held accountable for this?
I think that there's a good chance that in the US, the priests can be held accountable for what they're doing. I think that a lot of the reason that a lot of priests have gotten away with what they're doing is because of the connection to the Catholic Church. However, the Catholic Church doesn't have the kind of sway in the United States that the evangelical Christianity has. Evangelical Christianity has a tremendous influence over the government, and people can say in many cases, and rightfully so, this has happened, that evangelical Christian ideas have outright written law in the country, and many of them are from a Protestant basis who specifically reject the Catholic Church. To them, it's the foundation of their religion is rejecting the church that came out of Rome, the church that came out of England, etc. So I think that there's a good chance that there can be some real punishments for the people who have victimized children. However, I think that it can be a coin toss when it comes to the Catholic Church sometimes, because they do still wield a significant amount of power. And depending on the faiths of the various individuals involved, often there can be a great deal of leniency shown, as we have seen with the example in Australia. However, I do think that since this is the U.S., and since it has not been committed by an evangelical pastor, I think that there's probably a pretty good chance we could probably see some kind of justice being carried on carried out on these people who have so maliciously targeted children.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Thank you very much, Jason Unruhe, commentator and analyst, joining us from Ontario.